Dun, dun, dun. We are live.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. We welcome Lyndsey, new mom Lyndsey, just as a little baby girl. Is she, 3 months, 4 months?
She's 3.5 months, 16 months tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, so huge accomplishment right there. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're glad to have you, Lyndsey. We're just talking about how you're originally from Illinois.
I am from downstate Illinois, Bloomington area.
Where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Frisco, Texas.
Texas. Nice.
Is it hot there?
Yeah, it's been in the 90s.
Wow.
Do you like that?
Not as hot as it will get, but yes, I do love it here.
That's great.
The sun is always shining. I miss the seasonal changes in Illinois, but I can do without the snow and ice.
Oh, yeah. Agree. Yeah, great. So we're so glad to have you. You've been one of our kind of founding Purse Strings Approved professionals. So we're glad you're here. Love following you on social media. If you don't follow her on Insta especially, it's been great. You offer so much information and education. As an educator, I love all that you do because you're always giving great tips and great information. So thank you. It's been great. And women need all that you're offering. So, and we're glad you're here today.
Thanks you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a fun time. We'll wait for a couple people to jump online. We'd love to hear where everyone's coming in from today. Always pop any questions in that you might have while you're jumping on for Lyndsey. And yeah, it's going to be a fun presentation today about retirement.
We're going to answer that ultimate question.
It was funny because I was writing the ad, like, do I have enough to make it through retirement? And Barb was like, you should probably just put in there money. Like, do I have enough money to make it through retirement? Like, that's what we're talking about, But even though we call it Money Monday, everybody knows that we're still talking about money, which is interesting, Like, do I have enough? The only question, it's not like activities to do in retirement. It's like money. It's always money, which is always, I was thinking about it when driving one day. I was like, it's not like, do I have enough grandkids to play with, or do I have enough activities or friends nearby? It's money. Do I have enough money?
Right.
So I think it's going to be great. Barb, do you want to give a little intro to Purse Strings, and we'll get an intro to Lyndsey and get this rocking and rolling?
Yeah. So, we're here sharing the Purse Strings stories. Purse Strings was created to give women free online tools and resources to help them make smart financial decisions for themselves and their families. All too often we heard women didn't know where to go to find the information or who to trust. So we've created a great list of vetted professionals like Lyndsey who are here to help answer your questions and help you prepare for a financial future of your dreams. She's a financial, would we say planner or advisor, Lyndsey?
Probably more advisor.
Advisor, okay. I know there's lots of different titles, and we do talk about that as well. So Lyndsey's going to be here today talking to us about the ultimate question: do I have enough to plan for retirement? So Maggie, why don't you give her the more formal intro?
So Lyndsey has been empowering women through personal finance. It's a true passion for her. She was raised by a single mom in Central Illinois and understands the lack of financial education and financial literacy had a significant impact on her upbringing. Her goal is to teach as many women as possible the key concepts and strategies to generate, save, spend, manage, invest, and transfer wealth. So with that, we'll give you the floor, Lyndsey.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I'm super excited to be here today. I do have a little presentation put together for us today, but if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll address those questions as they come up to you. But this is kind of like the biggest question that we get answered. And I've heard people refer to it as the big question about retirement, or just not even paraphrasing it or combining it with the word retirement, just will I have enough? Well, the question is, will I have enough to retire? And so that's what we're going to get started with today here. I really appreciate the introduction that both of you gave me. I have like a bunch of designations and stuff, and I always like completely remove them from my name when I put myself on screen and stuff. But essentially, like, I know a whole lot about life insurance, financial planning, and I'm a trained educator in personal finance. And that's what all those designations mean at the end of my name. So it looks fancy. I promise it's really not that fancy. It just means I know what I'm doing. And you should be looking for professionals that have some types of designation or, certification that they are trained and educated in providing information to you. That's kind of a big thing. So that's why I have those. I'm a first and foremost a financial educator. That's where I always start from. On top of that, I am an investment advisor representative or a financial advisor is another way to say that. I own a farm in central Illinois. Part of my upbringing was that I was raised on a farm. My significant other is Byron, and we have a new baby girl, Stella, that they were just talking about. I also get to be a bonus mom to our son, Caleb, and I'm a caretaker. My dad had a massive stroke 6.5 years ago, and so I've been his primary caretaker for quite a bit of time now as well, too. So you're going to see that kind of folded into the presentation today, too. So that's a little bit about me. Again, here we are with the big question, will you have enough in retirement? And so this is just really what we're going to focus on today and talk about what it means to be a woman in today's society and how our personal finances are intertwined and not in a lot standalone as women today. So just kind of talking through what those different things are. So as we talk about women, we've really come a long way in society because rewind to half a decade ago or half a century ago, and we were in a completely different place, right? But today, women serve as the primary breadwinner in 40% of all households in America, which I think is just fabulous. And I know that number is on the rise, so that's a really good thing for us. We also own 30% of private businesses. I own my own business. A lot of my girlfriends own their own businesses, so I know that number is growing too, which is just a huge accomplishment. 52% of us hold management, professional, or other related positions, and almost 60% of us earn college degrees now. So this is just kind of a little intro to who are we as women and why is this question important to us. Another big figure that's out is that by the year 2030, women are expected to control $30 trillion. Okay, that's not million, that's $1 trillion of the financial assets in the US. That's an unprecedented number. And so where are we getting these funds from? Well, we're getting them from our inheritance, or we're getting them from our spouses that are leaving money to us and things like that. And so we really need to take control of that $30 trillion that we're going to be inheriting in the coming years and know how to manage that money. And so at a time when we're accomplishing so much, why aren't we feeling more empowered about our financial future? And that's really what we're going to be addressing today, because we have made leaps and bounds in the professional world. And so now it's how can we make sure that as we are earning more and we're doing more and we're being more forward in the marketplace, if you will, how do we make sure that we're also protecting ourselves and planning for our financial futures? Because we have a lot of things stacked against us. And we're just going to run through a couple of those things right now. But essentially, we feel like we're in less control of our finances now than what we ever have. And there's some fact figures come up in some of these future slides here that talk a little bit more about that. But how do we feel more in control of our financial futures and our goals? And so before we get to that, we're just going to talk through some of the things that are making us feel like we are not in control of our finances. And then we're going to set stage and kind of reverse that and say, how do we then take control of that? So big figure that everybody knows here is that for every dollar earned by a man, a woman earns 82 cents. And I think this number has been thrown out there a lot lately. It's been hovering around 85 cents for a while now. But this is a fact and figure that was published in November of 2019. So that's a big one for us today. We also end up taking off more time from work. And so this is a really big impact for women. And I don't think that we really give ourselves or allow ourselves enough grace around this, but it really does impact our personal finances. And so understanding that taking days off work to help care for children, partners, and parents really does kind of play into our financial future. And these are interruptions that are good interruptions, right? We're being able to care for and take care of the people in our families, but and the people that we care about, but they are interruptions to our personal finances as well too. Then kind of fast forwarding here to where we are as far as the gender pay gap and what that really means for us is that it's costing us a ton of money. And if you can advance the slide, just one more, Maggie. There you go. So over a lifetime, about $456,000 is the gap that's created over a lifetime of working, over a career of working, when we're only making 82 cents on the dollar for every man that every man is making out there. So this really does add up. And so how do we make sure that the time that we're taking away from work, the amount of money that we're earning less, how do we make sure that we protect the income that we do have and grow our savings so that we are in a better financial position in the future? We're going to talk a lot more about that here in a little bit too, but just this kind of gets your mind wrapped around everything that we have going, that's impacting us. Retired women receive 80% of what retired men receive in Social Security benefits. I didn't know this fact for the longest time, and when I heard it, I was like, "Is that really true?" But it's crazy about that because when you think about, okay, so we earn 82 cents for every dollar a man earns. Then on top of that, we're taking time away from work, sometimes extended time away from work to care for, kids, parents, partners, whoever it may be. And when you take time away from work, you're not paying into Social Security, right? And so then that's automatically reducing those benefits. And so it made sense when you think about it, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things, when you're thinking about your financial plan, that's really something that everyone takes into consideration. I can give a prime example of that too. Like when I'm talking to my girlfriends that are having children, they're talking about taking time away from work or maybe taking a year or two off from work. And it never comes into the conversation unless I bring it up that, this doesn't just impact you and what's going on with your plans right now, but it also impacts your future because, you're going to be walking away from those Social Security benefits also. And so just really kind of bringing those conversations up. Another big thing, I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about that I'm a caretaker right now. Well, I'm a caretaker because my dad is in a long-term care facility. He's actually in a memory care facility now. But we don't talk enough about the fact that 70% of people over the age 65 will need some form of long-term care service. And so how does that fit into your financial plan, right? These aren't things that we really talk or think about or that we want to talk and think about, but 70% of people over the age of 65, that's a huge number, right? So we want to make sure that as women, we know that we live longer than men. Our average stay in a long-term care facility or a long-term care home is longer than that of a man. We need more long-term care for those reasons. And we're less able to afford long-term care because of all the things that we just talked about, right? We're not technically earning as much as a man in the workplace. So those are some items there with long-term care that we also need to start talking more about and thinking more about planning for in the future. And then I also wanted to point out that according to a recent retirement literacy survey, 89% of women are not literate about retirement. Okay, and so that sounds negative. That sounds really negative. All that really means is, to me, when I read that number, I say, okay, 89% of women don't understand enough about retirement yet. That's how I want to read that statement, because that's 100% true. 43% are not comfortable with investment risk due to the COVID-19 crisis. I will say this, I've had many conversations with my clients over the past calendar year about, I'm nervous about the market. I don't know if I want to stay in the market because of all the risks and the highs and lows that we saw throughout COVID. And so big concerns there. 70% are concerned about guaranteed retirement income. I would say when I speak to my clients, I would say 80% of the women that I talk to are concerned about guaranteed retirement income. I mean, that's a guesstimate on my part. This is from an actual study that was done that 70% of women are concerned about guaranteed retirement income. It's a huge thing. How do you make sure that you're going to get that steady paycheck in retirement? And 73% do not have a plan to fund long-term care needs. We're going to talk a whole lot more about that later, but that's definitely a big impact in making sure that you understand what your plan is, what you want your wishes to be when it comes to long-term care, because many of us women are going to be more impacted by that than men will in the long run. So that's another big thing. So how are we handling this stress right now of these retirement dreams, right? Each of us has retirement dreams, but what's happening now is if not planning appropriately with our finances, we end up shrinking our retirement dreams or giving up on them entirely, which is not good. We don't want that to happen. So what we need to do now is start taking the time to think about what you want your retirement dreams to be. What are those things that you want to do in retirement? Do you plan to retire, or are you going to keep working? What does that look like for you? And I think this is the biggest thing, especially for women, is we really need to sit down and think about, what do I want in retirement? And having the confidence and the ability to dream, to say, this is what I want in retirement. I think so much of our lives is spent taking care of other people and catering to other people and making sure that they're happy and that, this is going on for them. And, how can I help and support and lift up other people? But we need to take a step back and say, okay, what do I want in retirement? And what do I want those dreams to look like? And how am I going to start achieving those? So when you think about this today, I can tell you for a fact, when I sit down with my family members, the first time that I sat down with my aunt specifically, she and I were talking about, making plans for traveling as a family. We're going to go rent this beach house for a week and we're all going to get together. We're going to do X, Y, and Z while we're there. Well, we spend so much time planning these events throughout our lives, taking care of family, pursuing hobbies, doing volunteer work, all those types of things, that we don't actually step back and say, well, I want to plan my own retirement in the same way. We just kind of all of a sudden arrive at retirement age. And now it's like, oh, I guess I need to think about what I want to do. And so a lot of the conversations that I have with women that are prepping for retirement is, what am I going to do when I stop working? Well, we need to rewind a little bit and say, let's take some time to figure out what it is that we really want to do in retirement that we can plan more appropriately for it. So those are some big things. But all this wraps around, we need to start having more conversations about money. And we need to start asking questions. We need to be talking about these retirement questions at lunch with our girlfriends. We need to sit down and talk about these with our family. And we need to learn more about money. And so one of the things that I'm going to offer as a kind of a free informational thing for anybody that wants one at the end of the call today is that we have this book called How Money Works. And the founder of our company actually helped write this book with a world-renowned mental health or mental toughness coach. And essentially what it is it's just a financial literacy tool. So it's a way to teach money concepts to people so that you better understand them. And so things like the power of compound interest, time value of money, the rule of 72, and how these different financial concepts can work for you in everyday life. And so those give you the tool to kind of help plan and prepare a little bit more for retirement. And then we use those same concepts as we help build our financial plans for the future. The book also talks a lot about the 7 money milestones and what those money milestones do for us. And so when we're sitting down and we're building out a financial plan for somebody, these are the steps that we go through. So first and foremost, we need to be working with financial professionals. And in order to work with a financial professional, or things that you need to be aware of when you're working with a financial professional, is you want to always lead from a point of financial education. And that's why I love Purse String so much, because it's really all about providing free information for women, and really anyone, to go out there and learn more about what it means to be financially literate and how to take charge of what's going on with your personal finances. And so the education that we teach is always free. That's why I'm providing those books complimentary today, and I'll have another resource for you as well too. But then building upon that and talking about proper protection, making sure you have an emergency fund, taking care of your debt, making sure your cash flow is adequate, both now and what it's going to be in retirement, building your wealth, and then protecting it and passing it along and transferring it over to your heirs and your family members as well too. Those are all really key things. And this is really the plan that we follow when we're starting to build financial plans for people. Next, we need to save and invest more money. Basically, this is something that women are really good at, saving and investing money, but we need to be even better about that going forward. So some reports today show that 40% of women are we tend to invest less, up to 40% less, right? So we're better savers than men. So we'll stock that money away in a savings account that's not earning the type of interest that we need to be earning to stay competitive or to build the financial wherewithal that we need for retirement, right? We're sticking it in a savings account, but we're not taking the next step to say, I will invest. And when you think about it, the average savings account today in America is, I want to say it's like less than, it's like it's 0.1%. Like it would take you, if you're in Chase Bank right now, for instance, if you're a client with Chase Bank, I am, so I'll just throw this out there. My savings account with Chase Bank earns 0.01%. So in order for my money to double in a savings account, it's going to take like 7,200 years for that to happen. So I'm not going to double my money sitting in a savings account today, a passbook savings account. That's where we get into the rule of compound of interest. The rule of 72 is, how long does it take your money to double? And where are you putting your money to make sure that it's working for you and not against you? Because I would argue that sitting in a savings account is working against you. It doesn't have inflation, or inflation's eating it alive in those places too. So there's some things there that we need to talk through, but we're really good at saving money. We just need to invest more. And so that's really just knowing and being conscious of where are we putting our money and what type of interest rates are we earning there. And then we also need to seriously consider working with a financial professional, someone who can listen to you, educate, inform, and collaborate with you. And I have many examples, and every financial professional out there does, of you've had especially a widow come to you and say to you, you know, my husband had this financial advisor that we were working with for all these years. I have no idea what they were doing. I never understood what this person was talking about. I say he, it could be he or she, where the couple was sharing information with them, but really that financial professional was only hearing the man's voice in the conversation. And so her wishes and dreams and her concerns were never being addressed. And so that's what we mean when we say someone who will listen. That is super important, especially for women. Make sure that you're with a financial professional who will listen, educate, inform, and collaborate with you to achieve your goals. And I think that's the other thing too. You have to have a clear outline of what your goals are, because somebody will make them up for you, but you have to make sure that you're working towards what your goals are. And so that's a big thing. Next, again, to just kind of support some of that, 54% of married women defer to their spouse for the family's financial planning decisions. Again, this number, according to this study, 61% of women feel that they're misunderstood by financial advisors, and 70% of women leave their financial advisor upon the death of their spouse. And that is, it's alarming to me how much that happens. And when that happens in my practice, women will come to me and they'll say, I specifically came to you because you're a woman. I specifically came to you because my friend told me that you listened to her and you helped her achieve the goals that she was looking for. And so it is a big deal to make sure that you are with a financial advisor or professional that is hearing you out and is really working towards your goals. So big deal there. Another big thing about preserving retirement income is that it really truly is a matter of life and death. Because according to a recent medical study, now this is a medical study, right? That people are 50% more likely to die within 20 years when they lose 75% or more of their total wealth within a 2-year time frame. And so when you think about this, okay, that sounds super scary, but we've seen this happen in our lifetime, right? We've seen the stock market and we've seen the housing industry collapse a little bit in our lifetimes. We know that this is possible. And that the stress that we take on, especially as women, the stress that we take on around money and being concerned, are we going to be able to earn that money back, or did we lose it for good, or whatever? That stress itself causes your body to hang on to all this yucky stuff, and it causes stress, anxiety, all those different things, and it leads to, people being unhappy and ultimately death. So according to medical studies, that's incredible, right? That's a different kind of a pandemic for us, that's for sure. So right now, I know that there's a massive need to help women. And that's really what my calling is in life, is to help as many women as I possibly can be able to save and get to retirement and have a solid built out financial plan for them in retirement. Because right now, only 17% of women are very confident that they'll be able to retire with a comfortable lifestyle. Only 17%. That means 83% of women are not very confident that they're going to be able to retire and live the lifestyle that they want to. That's just amazing to me. 24% of women have been affected by COVID. Their confidence in their ability to retire has been declined because of the coronavirus pandemic. I know that's probably been shocking, but I just think that, a quarter of the women out there, essentially, the quarter of the women out there are positive that COVID has negatively impacted their ability to retire. So we need to be having more conversations about money. And 18% of women already plan to take a loan and or withdraw from their 401k, 403b, or similar plan as a result of the pandemic. I think that's one of the things too that I would just say, if you're thinking about making a major financial move and you haven't looked holistically at your financial picture or plan, that is definitely something that you should do before you start saying, oh, I'm going to go take money out of my 401k or money out of my 403b. You need to be working with a financial professional and make sure that that is in fact the best possible decision for you, because again, there's long-term impacts of that. And so we want to make sure that you're aware of those things before you just go taking money out and don't understand the implications of that. So that's a really big thing. So then we kind of come over to this next big question that we have, right? So there's a 54% chance that you're going to run out of money during a 30-year retirement if you withdraw a 6% annual income from a 50-50 stock bond investment. I think about this. I think it's really important that we talk a little bit more about 401ks and 403bs. In a 401k or 403b or any type of retirement sponsored or employer sponsored retirement plan, you have different investment options that you can choose from, right? And a lot of times they're preset. And so you just go and you select whichever one. A lot of times you can just be automatically enrolled in one and you may not have ever gone back in and changed it again. This is definitely something that you can and should talk to a financial professional about. Am I taking on the amount of risk that I want to or that I'm comfortable with in my 401k plan? Because what happens is if you go into retirement and you say, oh, I'm just going to leave it in my 401k, I know it's earning X amount every year, or it's been earning about X amount every year, and then there's a dip in the stock market and your portfolio is now all of a sudden impacted more than you think it should be. Now we've got some major concerns going on here. So big question then becomes, will your savings run out in retirement? Do we know that? Do we not know that? So I think it's really important that we understand first and foremost that Social Security was not meant to be there as the sole source of retirement income for anyone. In fact, it's meant to be like a quarter of your retirement portfolio, which I don't think a lot of people really understand. It's meant to be a supplement. It's not meant to be the entire thing. So the combination of Social Security and your 401k really should be something that's building in your retirement savings account. But then there's also this element of personal savings that, especially since companies are moving away from pension plans, or they have been moving away from pension plans, that we really have to start building up more of our own personal savings to make sure that we meet those income goals that we have in retirement. And so if you're not doing more in the way of personal savings, in addition to Social Security and your 401k, that's definitely an area that you want to start examining with a financial professional and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Most people come to me and they'll say, well, I want my retirement income to be X in retirement, or they really have no idea what they want it to be. So the big thing is that when you sit down with a financial professional is understanding what you want retirement to look like, what your income needs are, and then what you want your play money to be. I love this financial educator in the marketplace. His name is Tom Hegna. He talks about paychecks and play checks, right? So your paychecks take care of all of your needs, and your play checks are your extra money that you get to go play with. And so this really impacts what we're talking about here. You really want to know what is necessary, what is needed, what's required in retirement versus what do you want to do? What do you want your lifestyle to be like in retirement? So how do you avoid running out of money in retirement? I'm going to tell you real quickly about a strategy that I use quite often with clients. But essentially, when you think about how you're invested in your 401k plan, everybody's on this high right now because the market's been doing really well, right? So the markets are up, everybody's got a lot of upside. It's really good, right? Well, what we don't always talk about is that when you're in a 401k plan, you're also at risk. So it is possible that your 401k plan can go down, which I know that happened back in 2008. It happened right after 9/11, back in 2001, 2002 timeframe. There's been several times in our history where there's been downside risk that's actually come to life. And that causes people to either delay retirement or not be able to retire at all. And so you've got all this upside potential, but you've also got downside risk. And so this strategy called RISE is all about creating reliable income strategy. And so what we're doing is we're trying to keep the upside potential there, but eliminate downside risk along with this as well too. There's a number of different products and services that we can use to do that. But essentially, this is something that we're doing where we can actually create a guaranteed floor in your retirement income. Your retirement, I should say, your upside. So you have your upside potential, but then you have a downside floor. So you can't earn less than, say, 5%. That's an example on the slide here. There's products and services out in the marketplace that do this. And so that's the importance of working with a financial professional, is really understanding what are those options and are they good options for me? So the most important thing with saying all that is for you to know that we don't all have the same goals, right? We're each at different places in life, and there's different products or services that could potentially work for or against us. So that strategy that we just talked about, that's not a strategy for somebody that's in their 20s and 30s, right? Because they still have a lot of time on their side to earn in the marketplace, versus somebody that's approaching retirement. That's probably a better strategy for them, because now you're talking about, okay, I've probably earned a lot since I've been investing in my 401k, or I've been investing in whatever for a number of years, right? You've had your whole career up to this point in time that you've been invested. But as you're approaching retirement, you want to switch gears and say, I want to guarantee some of this. And so that is a lot of what we do as financial professionals, is help people understand what the possibilities are, and make sure that they fit with what your personal goals are. So women typically see money as a means to an end, not the end itself, which I think is so, that's typical of every woman that I've ever interacted with, right? It's a means to an end. It's not the end itself, right? And so what we need to do is we need to focus on having more conversations about money and our financial goals, so that we can put proper plans in place to get to where we want to be in retirement, so that we won't run out of money in retirement. So if you saw this presentation today and you are interested in learning more about if you will have enough to retire, I would highly encourage you to work with a financial professional. And please know, it doesn't have to be me, but what I would say is there's plenty of financial professionals out there in the world today that can help you sit down, examine your own personal finances, set up your personal financial goals to align with those, and give you a successful retirement all the way through, so that you don't have to be concerned about, will I have enough to last my entire life? So if you guys would like to have a free copy of the How Money Works book, along with a packet of information about, it's titled The 7 Biggest Money Mistakes That Will Ruin Retirement, but it's essentially a warning guide on things that you should not do. I do have those 2 free pieces of information that I can give out. You just need to send me your email and your address, and I can get those in the mail to you. All right, and then Maggie and Barb, any other questions for me that came in?
Wow, that was great. That was just like a whole wealth of knowledge and facts. We love it. Anyone tuning in, ask your questions. You still have time. But there are some points that I wanted to jump back to and talk more about. And one of those was like really learning where to pull your money from. People talking about dipping into their 401k real quick, or their 403b. And there's a lot of long-term problems with that. I've learned from one of our other Social Security experts, the way of, if you just wait a couple more years, you get so much more money every other year after that. So it's not just taking a little bit out and you'll have it all later, which I think is a great point because people don't always understand. You think it's my money, so why can't I take my own money? But it is something that you really need to learn what buckets to pull from, which is very interesting and very eye-opening, I think.
We talk a lot about levers. So I don't know. I feel like water spigots. Like when you want to turn on a different water spigot than the one you have right in front of you. When I talk with my clients about where are we going to get your retirement income from, that is 100% where it's at. It's making sure that it's appropriate to turn on your Social Security now versus waiting because you could be getting more money down the road. And if it's a 2 or 3 year wait versus a 7 to 10 year wait, that's a big difference. And so what do we do to fill that gap? Where can we pull from then? Well, maybe it's 401k. Maybe it's a life insurance policy that you own. Maybe it's another form, another asset that you have, like land, right? Like it could be any number of those levers, but understanding that taking away from one bucket could potentially put you down a path that is unrecoverable from. And so you need to make sure that you're having those conversations and you're aware of how they're impacting your portfolio.
And you might have enough if you take them from the right buckets. But if you don't take them from the right buckets, then you might not have enough. So it's not like you didn't have enough to start. It's just you pulled them in the wrong ways, which I'm learning and is wild to me because you think, again, it's just all your money. But blows my mind, but important to know.
Yes.
Somebody was asking on here, do you address long-term care planning as well?
Yes, 100%. And so my first passion is helping women, and that's because I was raised by a single mom and I saw what all that impacts had on my life. And the second thing that I'm really passionate about, I started off by saying my dad had a stroke 6.5 years ago. Long-term care planning is massively important to me. My father had no long-term care insurance in place, so my sister and I are paying out of pocket every month for his care. And so, yes, I do sit down and I do extreme long-term care planning with you. I didn't say extreme. It's not extreme. It's having the conversation, and it's a little bit uncomfortable because I'm going to ask you to have conversations that you've probably never had and never thought about having before in your life. But your family and friends need to know what your wants and desires are when it comes to long-term care planning. And ultimately, that's what drives what the cost of your personal care is going to be. And so making sure that we plan appropriately around that and put products and services in place to make sure that you're protected in the right way when the time comes. So yes, great question.
And I would say that, and it's protection for yourself, but kind of for your family. I mean, that brings a lot on you and your sister. Time, money, energy, where it's like, if you kind of talked about this before, I wouldn't be paying for it and doing all the work, which you don't always want your kids to do. I mean, I've done some family care as well, and it's just like, if you took a different route, this would have been easier.
Yeah,
but you love them.
Yeah, you love them, but there's certain things like, I love my dad. I will not help him toilet. I won't do it. So, I mean, and those are uncomfortable conversations that we have when we're doing long-term care planning, but it truly comes down to who do you want doing those things for you if that's something that you end up needing.
And most people don't want their kids doing it. It's kind of like a gift to their kid. I did it for you. You don't have to do it for me.
Right, exactly.
And then it was an interesting point how you brought up that Social Security is only supposed to be, I mean, a lot of people just say supplement your income, but you really said a quarter of your income, which is really makes that piece of a pie smaller. But I don't think people talk about that enough. Not just like they're not giving me enough. It's not supposed to be everything.
Right. And I say a quarter of your income, especially for anyone that's really between, I'm going to generalize age frames because I'm not, not talking about specifics here, but I would say generally speaking, anybody that is 40 plus, I say it should be plan on it being about a quarter of your retirement income. And for anybody less than that, like, sorry to burst everybody's bubble, but I don't know that it's going to be there. And so I plan for nothing.
I plan for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I plan for nothing in the Social Security bucket for anybody younger than that.
And if not, then they're playchecks.
Yes, exactly.
it's where I hope I'm wrong. I hope I do get something. And then the last one is, figuring out what you want in retirement. Our whole life, we've made a plan of, where you want to go to school, what kind of family you want to have, what vacations you want to take. So it's really building out that plan and those dreams into reality, which if we learned anything about goal setting and making a plan, you got to make the plan to actually get it done, which is really fun. So Lyndsey, what's one of your main things you want to do in retirement?
Yes, one of the main things I want to do in retirement is travel internationally. And my whole family knows that. That's my biggest thing. I love international travel. And there's some parts of the world that I really would like to explore more. Mm-hmm. And we still build international travel as a part of our everyday lifestyle right now. But just doing more of it and for longer periods of time in retirement is our goal.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I always love the grandmas who are like, I'm going to take me and my whole family on this huge trip, that would be something I'd love to give to my nieces and just do it all and just have it be a great vacation, but you got to plan for it. You definitely have to plan for it.
Those are not cheap trips.
No, and everyone keeps having more kids. So, families are getting way bigger.
Exactly. But that's a really big thing. And one of the things that I see that sometimes can be, it feels sad sometimes, but it's not always a sad thing. So let me say that. But a lot of times women get to retirement and they truly don't know what to do with themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's because they haven't allowed themselves to dream. And so then I get to do the fun part of my job. And that is I get to help somebody dream. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun. But that's a real thing. And so taking the time to dream on your own and make plans is a big thing.
We did have another Social Security professional kind of talking about that and kind of making a plan of if you were a teacher, all that social life kind of you lose, or, all that interaction. So how are you going to meet people? How are you going to get out? What are you going to do to fill your day? So you don't end up just kind of going crazy in the house, which is interesting that you don't think free time is something you have to plan for, but you got to learn how to fill your day when you don't have to work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lyndsey, this was fabulous. Everything, your data is so right on. It's everything that we've seen out there. And I just want to thank you for bringing this forward, because that's the reason we created Purse Strings. I would always say one part of our story is I would drag Maggie, running errands in Target and Costco, and I'd see women of retirement age bagging our groceries. It'd be so frustrating because I thought, why are these women working? Is it because they like the socialness of it, which could be that, or do they really need to work? And the data will tell you many women in retirement do need to cobble jobs together to pay their monthly bills. And, women deserve a really good retirement. We're hardworking. We're taking care of a lot of people throughout our lives. And as you well know, you're part of that sandwich experience right here, Lyndsey. You just had a brand new, sweet little adorable baby dolly, and you're taking care of your dad. Mm-hmm. And you're working full time. And, there's a lot going on there. So we need to say to all women, you deserve for yourself to plan for a good, healthy retirement and ensure that that's happening for yourself. And it comes with really working with a professional like Lyndsey. And I'm going to disagree with one thing you said, Lyndsey. You said you don't have to work with me, but I say work with Lyndsey. Why not? Because a Purse Strings approved professional. She's all things women. She knows her stuff. You saw all her stats. I think she's your go-to person if you have questions on your retirement. She's got your back. She's going to listen to you. And I love, Lyndsey, when you talk about having lunch or with your friends and they're saying, oh, I'm going to leave the workforce, and you go right in, the impact on your finances, which, is such a tug at the heartstrings, right? You said you just dropped your baby off this morning. It's a heartstring pull, right? But absolutely. We all need to make those conscious financial decisions. So
that's really it more than anything, is just make sure it's a conscious decision and it's not a forfeited decision.
Yes, yes. So, we could talk all day about this topic. It's so great. So I'm so glad you were here today. This will be recorded, so a lot of women can share this with other women in case they're having questions about, do I have enough? Call Lyndsey, is what we say.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me today too. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for being on.
And so, again, this is Lyndsey Monahan from WealthWave. You could reach her at lindsey.monahan@wealthwave.com. Reach out to her if you would like her book or any for free resources, or just like to have a complimentary conversation. Also, if you lose her email, just reach out to Purse Strings and we can get you in contact for her book or any of those resources. Please reach out. Don't be afraid. She's a wonderful lady. And we'll see you guys again here next Monday for another Money Monday with Purse Strings. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Lyndsey.